My stepmom threw me out of my own house with $20 and some loose change in my pocket. I was supposed to buy food. Instead, I spent it on one lottery ticket using my dead mother's birthday numbers. 2 weeks later, that dirty little paper was worth $3.4 billion. At the time, I had no clue. At the time, I was standing in the front hall of the Hollard house while Vanessa Mercer. Hollard waved toward the open front door like she was shooing a stray dog off her porch. She wore a shiny robe over a tight dress, house slippers with fake diamonds on the straps, and enough perfume to make the air taste like a mall kiosk. Vanessa always liked looking expensive. She just never liked acting like she had paid for anything herself. That was her real talent. Sweet voice when my father watched. Sharp mouth when he looked away. Behind her, Dylan leaned against the staircase with one hand on the railing and a lazy smirk on his face. My stepbrother had one of my father's company pins on his jacket. The silver H of Hollard Limited sat on his chest, polished and smug. That pin used to sit in my father's study. My mother helped design it. Vanessa snapped her fingers toward the door. "You turned 18, Evan," she said. "Get out. I am tired of feeding some sour-faced grown boy who cannot be happy for his family." Feeding me. That was rich from the woman who entered our house with 2 suitcases, one fake designer purse, and a son who became allergic to rent the moment my father married her. My father, Arthur Hollard, stood beside the fireplace in a navy suit. His hair was combed neatly. His watch flashed under the chandelier. He looked like the kind of man who gave speeches about discipline, legacy, and family values at charity dinners. He also looked directly at me and said nothing. That was the part that hurt. Vanessa being cruel was normal. Dylan acting smug was normal. My father staying quiet while they pushed me toward the front door made the floor feel unsteady under my shoes. I looked at him. "Dad," I said, his jaw tightened. "Do not make this harder than it needs to be." Dylan made a small sound from the stairs, a little victory breath. He had never been good at hiding happiness when someone else was bleeding. That afternoon, my father had named Dylan as the future successor of Hollard Limited. Dylan, the son Vanessa brought into the house after marrying my father, the same Dylan who thought a business plan was choosing the right lights for his gaming setup. Vanessa had cried during the announcement. With Vanessa, tears were a tool. She could probably cry if a parking meter refused her card. She told the room Dylan had the heart to lead. My father nodded like the sentence had not just mugged common sense in public. I asked one question: "What about Mom?" The room went quiet. My mother's name still had weight in that house. Clara Hollard had built half the relationships that made Hollard Limited matter. My father started the company, but my mother kept it alive when banks laughed, suppliers delayed, and clients treated him like a local dreamer with a nice haircut. She died when I was younger, but her work was still everywhere. The old client letters in the study, the company crest, the first office photos, the birthday calendar she kept in my father's desk. Vanessa's eyes sharpened when I said, "Mom." Then she leaned into Arthur's arm and made her voice soft. "See," she said to him. "This is what I mean. He never lets this family breathe, always dragging up dead things when everyone else is trying to move forward. Move forward." That was Vanessa's favorite phrase for erasing my mother and pushing me out of the picture. Dylan stepped down one stair. "Bro, you're embarrassing yourself," he said. "Dad picked the person who can actually handle responsibility. Do not turn this into one of your little grief episodes." A few company people were still in the next room. I saw their shadows near the doorway. They heard enough. My face burned. I wanted to hit Dylan so badly my fingers curled. Then my father spoke. "Enough, Evan. You have been angry for years. I am tired." Tired. He said it like my grief was a chore he had been doing for too long. Vanessa patted his arm, all fake softness again. "Arthur, baby, let me handle this. You already did enough for him. Baby." She called him that in front of company people, like she had not spent the morning yelling at a maid because the coffee was too hot. Vanessa was a loud gold digger in fake diamonds and house slippers. She mixed up company terms, called board members those office uncles, and once asked if equity was the same thing as a discount. Around my father, she blinked big and acted helpless. Around staff, she snapped her fingers and talked like every room existed to serve her mood. That made her dangerous in the cheapest way. People expect poison in a fancy bottle. Vanessa came in fake luxury and bad manners, so everyone underestimated how much damage she could do. Then she turned back to me. The soft voice vanished. "Go," she said. "Do not stand here making that ugly face. I already packed away the important things." I stared at her. "Where is my wallet, my phone, my ID?" She tilted her head and gave me that fake innocent look she used whenever Arthur was close enough to be manipulated. "You should have thought about that before acting like this house belonged to you." Dylan laughed from the stairs. I looked at my father again. "You're letting her do this?" His eyes flicked toward the company guests, then to Vanessa. "Then away from me. You need to learn independence," he said. That sentence did something ugly to me. Independence was a funny word from a man letting his new wife throw out his real son while her son wore the family pin. Vanessa stepped closer and lowered her voice enough that the guests would not hear clearly. "Your mother is gone," she said. "Stop acting like this house is a shrine for a dead woman and her useless kid." My hand moved before my brain finished processing the sentence. The guard behind me shifted his weight. I stopped. Vanessa saw it and smiled. She wanted me to hit her. One slap from me would become tears, police, and a whole performance about how hard she tried to love Arthur's troubled son. So I walked out. I left the Hollard house with whatever chump change happened to be in my jeans. That barely counted as belongings. It was more like the universe leaving me a tip for a terrible performance. Dylan followed me to the doorway. "Happy adulthood," he said. "Try not to crawl back too fast." The door closed behind me. That was how I lost my house. It ended with a click from a lock and my father choosing silence. I walked until the Hollard lights disappeared behind the trees. My pockets held around $20, a few coins, and a bus card with almost nothing on it. I kept touching the empty space where my phone should have been, which was stupid. Phones do not grow back if you tap your pocket enough. A few blocks from the company office, I passed a corner store. The television above the counter was screaming about the biggest luck jackpot in American history. $3.4 billion, tax-free. I had seen the same news earlier that day while I was still inside the Hollard house. Back then, the number felt fake, so big it barely sounded like money. More like something people said to make normal bank accounts feel embarrassed. The cashier saw me staring at the screen. "You want in?" he asked. "Biggest one ever." I almost said no. $20 could buy dinner, maybe a bus ride, maybe one night indoors if I found the saddest motel in the city and negotiated with a man who had lost all standards. Then I saw the date on the little display beside the register. December 25th, my mother's birthday. Clara used to joke that being born on Christmas meant everyone owed her double gifts and nobody ever delivered. Her favorite numbers were sentimental and a little dumb: 19, 7, 1, 12, 2, 5. The way she wrote her birthday on old forms? 1971, 12, 25. So I bought one ticket. A miracle never entered my head. I had just been thrown out of my own house. My father had chosen another woman's son over me, and grief makes people do strange little rituals when there is nothing useful left to do. That night, under a streetlight, I pulled the ticket from my pocket. The paper was already bent. "Great," I muttered. "Mom's birthday and my eviction souvenir. Very collectible." I shoved it deep into my pocket and found a public park. The bench was cold. The air smelled like wet grass and old cigarette smoke. My stomach kept making sounds like it was filing complaints. I kept thinking about my father, Arthur Hollard, the richest man in our little community, a local rich man with a famous house, a company everyone knew, a nice car, and a charity photo smile. Rich enough for Vanessa to notice. Rich enough for Dylan to move in and treat the staircase like ancestral land. Rich enough for my father to forget who stood beside him when he was still borrowing office furniture. I closed my eyes. The lottery ticket stayed in my pocket. At that moment, it was just a dirty scrap of paper pressed against my thigh. I had no idea it was about to become the most dangerous thing I owned. For almost 2 weeks, I lived like a shopping cart with a pulse. I slept on park benches, behind a closed laundromat, and once under the awning of a dental clinic where the security light blinked every 5 seconds. That light was annoying enough to make me hate dentistry as a concept. Hunger changes your personality fast. At first, I told myself I would find work, find shelter, maybe even find a way to talk to my father. Those were responsible thoughts. Responsible thoughts sound great until your stomach starts folding in on itself and a cold night makes your fingers numb. The first week stripped my pride in pieces. I counted coins, washed my face in public restrooms, and eventually checked dumpsters behind restaurants while negotiating with my pride like it owed me money. The worst part was the quiet. The silence stayed. My father never sent a car or even Paul from the gate. Vanessa skipped the cruel message too, which honestly felt lazy. If you destroy someone's life, at least commit to the role. Dylan existed somewhere inside my old room, probably surrounded by neon lights and snacks bought with my father's money. I could picture it without checking. Dylan had the kind of confidence that only comes from never earning the chair you sit in. I had the same hoodie, the same dirty jeans, and a lottery ticket I had completely forgotten about. On the 14th day, I woke up on a park bench with my neck twisted sideways and a pigeon standing too close to my shoe. I said, "Don't judge me, you eat off sidewalks." The pigeon cared exactly 0%. My last meal had been yesterday afternoon. My stomach hurt enough that I walked behind a bakery and lifted the dumpster lid. The inside smelled like wet cardboard, coffee grounds, and every bad decision in the neighborhood. I shut the lid. "Dumpster breakfast canceled," I muttered. "Tragic loss for fine dining." Walking helped. Standing still made the hunger louder. A few blocks later, I passed an electronics shop. The front window was filled with televisions, all playing the same news broadcast. Bright blue banner, serious anchor, a giant gold jackpot logo spinning behind him. I almost kept walking. Then I saw the number, 3.4 billion. The anchor said, "The luck jackpot office confirmed this morning that the historic tax-free $3.4 billion prize remains unclaimed 2 weeks after the winning draw. Officials say there is one winning ticket, but the winner has not come forward." I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. A man behind me bumped my shoulder and cursed. I barely heard him. One winner, unclaimed, 2 weeks. I stared at the television and laughed once. It came out dry and ugly. What kind of idiot wins $3.4 billion and forgets to collect it? The anchor continued. The winning numbers are 19, 7, 1, 12, 2, and 5. The street kept moving around me. Cars passed. People walked. Someone honked like the whole city needed his opinion. Inside my head, everything stopped. 19, 7, 1, 12, 2, 5. My hand went to my pocket so fast I almost tore the fabric. I pulled out the ticket. It looked like trash I had forgotten to throw away. The edges were soft from sweat and rain. The numbers were still there. 19, 7, 1, 12, 2, 5. My mother's birthday code, my stupid grief purchase, my eviction souvenir. I stood outside the electronics shop with dirty clothes, hollow cheeks, and a piece of paper worth more than everything Vanessa had been so proud to steal. The man who bumped me looked back. "You okay, kid?" I whispered. "I am the idiot." He frowned and kept walking. Fair reaction. I checked the numbers again. Then once more because apparently my brain thought dignity lived inside repetition. The ticket matched. My hands started shaking. For 2 weeks I had slept outside with $3.4 billion in my pocket. I had looked into dumpsters while carrying enough money to buy the bakery, the alley, and probably the building next to it just to be annoying. I laughed. Then I almost cried. Then I laughed again because crying in front of a television store felt too dramatic for a guy who smelled like old rain. I folded the ticket carefully this time. The paper suddenly felt thin enough to ruin my whole future if I breathed wrong. I went straight to the luck jackpot claims office. The building sat downtown in a clean glass tower with a gold logo over the front doors. The lobby smelled like polished floors and people who had never considered dumpster bread a breakfast option. A security guard at the entrance looked me up and down. His expression said wrong building. "Claims office," I said. He glanced at my hoodie, my jeans, and my shoes. "Deliveries are around back. I came to claim a prize." "Then you are lost." I pulled the ticket from my pocket but kept my fingers tight around it. "I need to claim a prize." The guard stared at me. Then he laughed. Professional laughter. The kind rich buildings train into people so they can insult you without sweating. "Kid, this is not a shelter." A woman at the reception desk looked over. Her smile tightened the second she saw me. "Can I help you?" she asked, using the tone people use when they have already decided they cannot. I walked to the desk and placed the ticket down. "I think I won." She looked at the ticket, then at me. "You think?" I am open to positive surprises. She typed something into her computer, then stopped. "Identification?" My stomach dropped. "What?" "Government-issued ID. We need it to verify the claim." My hand touched my pocket on instinct. Empty. My wallet was back in the Hollard house. Vanessa had kept the things that proved I existed and kicked out the body attached to them. The receptionist saw my face and leaned back slightly. "Sir, we cannot proceed without identification." "Sir." People say sir very politely when they are 2 seconds from calling security. I picked up the ticket. "Can I come back?" "With valid ID," she said. "And I suggest you keep that ticket safe." The guard was already watching me like I had stolen air from the lobby. I stepped outside. The city looked brighter than before and much meaner. $3.4 billion. One ticket. One missing ID. I looked toward the Hollard neighborhood. Of course. The universe had handed me the biggest jackpot in history, then locked it behind Vanessa's front door. "Great," I said. "The final boss is paperwork." Going back to the Hollard house felt like swallowing glass and pretending it was tea. I waited until late afternoon because I needed the front gate staff on shift. Vanessa would tell security I was trespassing if I climbed over the wall. She loved rules when they protected stolen comfort. The guard at the gate recognized me. His name was Paul. He had worked there since before my mother died. When I was small, he used to bring packages to the kitchen and sneak me candy. Now he looked at my dirty hoodie and hollow face. His hand hovered near the intercom. "Evan," he said quietly, "sympathy from people who still obey the person hurting you is a strange little knife. I need my ID," I said. "It should be in my room." Paul's mouth tightened. "I have to call inside." "I know." He pressed the intercom. A minute later, the gate opened. Vanessa opened the gate for one reason. She wanted the show. I walked up the driveway. The house looked the same from outside. White stone, black iron, warm windows, expensive landscaping. People slowed down on the street to admire that place. Funny how a house can look beautiful while rotten things happen inside. Vanessa stood at the front door in a shiny pink tracksuit and slippers with fake fur around the edges. Her hair was clipped up messily. She chewed gum, then smiled when Paul looked her way. Fake sweet for witnesses, trashy the second she felt safe. Dylan stood behind her with a game controller in one hand. Of course he did. Look who crawled back, Vanessa said. I told Arthur you would. I stopped at the bottom of the steps. I need my ID. Dylan snorted. You crawl back and start making demands? Homelessness made you rude fast. You are talking with a controller in your hand, I said. Maybe sit this one out. Vanessa's gum stopped moving. Watch your mouth in my house. Your house? Her smile turned ugly. Arthur is resting. Do not disturb him with your drama. Resting. The word twisted inside me. I wanted to ask if my father had said anything about me. I wanted to ask if he regretted it. I swallowed it. Begging for my father's guilt in front of Vanessa felt like handing her a knife and asking her to choose a rib. I need my ID, I repeated. Vanessa sighed loudly enough for Paul to hear from the gate. This is exactly what I said. You are an adult now and already crawling back. A leech does not stop sucking just because you peel it off once. Dylan laughed. I stared at her. That was disgusting. So is watching you act like we owe you something. My ID. She stepped aside. Go find it and leave before your father wakes up. I entered the house. The smell hit me first. Polished wood, expensive candles, fresh flowers in the entryway. Home, but poisoned. I headed upstairs. Dylan followed, almost bouncing. You are going to love what I did with the room, he said. I stopped. What did you say? He grinned and walked ahead of me. My old bedroom door was open. The room was gone. My bed had been replaced by a black gaming chair. My desk had 3 monitors across it. Neon lights covered the walls. Speakers sat in the corners. A mini fridge hummed near the closet. On the giant screen, a fantasy game character stood in a forest holding a sword larger than common sense. Dylan spread his arms. Upgrade, right? The room had dead sun energy before? My chest went tight. I walked in slowly. The shelf where my mother kept my school trophies was empty. The photo frame by the window was gone. My old books were gone. The wooden music box my mother gave me when I was 8 was gone. Every trace of me had been erased in less than 2 weeks. Where is my stuff? Dylan shrugged. Trash chute. Mom said if it mattered, you would have taken it. I went downstairs fast. Vanessa waited near the entryway with a glass of lemon water, chewing gum again like she had paid for my humiliation by the hour. I said, you threw my things out? She took a slow sip. You abandoned them. You kicked me out. Details. That one word nearly snapped the last thread of my patience. Paul had come up from the gate and now stood just inside the doorway. A housekeeper froze near the hall with a silver tray in her hands. Vanessa noticed the witnesses and lifted her chin. Do not make a scene, she said. You chose to leave. I laughed once. You should teach theater. You are terrible at truth, but committed to performance. Her eyes narrowed. Dylan leaned over the banister. Trash chute is downstairs, basement hall. Try not to feel too at home. I hated him. I hated his grin, his voice, the way he used the house like a toy because he had never lost anything that mattered. But the ticket was in my pocket, and the ticket meant nothing without ID. So I went to the basement hall. The trash chute room smelled like plastic bags, cleaning chemicals, and old food. Staff had sorted bins against the wall before pickup. I opened the first one and started digging. My hands found wet paper, broken hangers, old packaging, and things better left unidentified. Behind me, Dylan laughed. Vanessa followed too. She stood in the doorway and called to the housekeeper. Look at him, she said. 2 weeks outside and already digging through our garbage. Shameless. The housekeeper looked away. Paul's jaw tightened. Everyone let it happen. Something sharp scraped my knuckle. I pulled my hand back and saw a red line open across the skin. Dylan said, Careful, trash can be dirty, might catch yourself. I looked over my shoulder. Keep talking, I said. You are making the future very easy to plan. He frowned. Vanessa laughed. Future? Evan, your father made his decision. Your future is finding a bench that does not kick you off. My fingers closed around leather. My wallet. It was damp and bent, but it was there. I opened it with shaking hands. My ID sat inside the plastic slot. For a second, the whole room sharpened around that little card. Evan hollered. My face, my name, still mine. I wiped the ID on my sleeve. Dylan leaned closer. All that for a little card? I stood. Yeah, I said. All that for a little card. Vanessa stepped aside as I walked past her. Do not come back, she said. I stopped beside her. There were things I could have said about the ticket, about the money, about how she had no idea what she had just helped me unlock. I said none of them. Some doors are better opened from the other side. I walked out with my ID in one hand, the ticket in my pocket, and trash smell clinging to my clothes. Behind me, Dylan called, "See you never, Leech." I kept walking. For the first time since Vanessa threw me out, I smiled. I felt like garbage, but I finally had what I needed. The second time I entered the Luck Jackpot building, I looked worse than the first. That takes talent. I had trash on my sleeve, a cut across my knuckle, and a smell that made people on the sidewalk give me extra space. Usually, personal space is a luxury. That day, it was apparently a public health warning. The same security guard saw me coming through the glass doors. His face dropped. "You again?" "Me again," I said. "I told you." I held up the ticket with one hand and my ID with the other. Ticket, ID, human being, barely. He stared at the ID, then at me. "Wait here. That is everyone's favorite thing to tell me." He spoke into his radio while I stood near the entrance like a rejected scarecrow. People passed through the lobby in suits, clean coats, polished shoes. A woman in a red blazer looked at me, then pulled her purse closer. "Lady, I had $3.4 billion in my pocket and still had not eaten. Your purse was safe." Mostly because I lacked energy. A different receptionist came to the front desk. Older, sharper. She looked like she had spent 10 years identifying nonsense before it reached paperwork. "Sir," she said, "we need to verify the ticket before we proceed." "That sounds like a good plan." She took the ticket carefully. I liked that. The ticket had spent 2 weeks being treated worse than receipts in my father's glove compartment. Seeing someone handle it like it mattered made my chest tighten. She placed it under a scanner. The machine beeped. Her eyes moved to the screen. Then she stopped moving. The guard noticed. "Ms. Porter?" She scanned the ticket again. The machine beeped again. Her fingers lifted from the keyboard and stayed there. "Ms. Porter?" he repeated. She turned slowly toward him. "Close the front doors." The guard blinked. "What?" "Close the front doors now." The lobby changed. One guard moved to the entrance. Another came from the hallway. Ms. Porter picked up a phone and spoke in a low voice. 2 employees behind the glass wall stopped typing and looked at me. I looked down at myself. Dirty hoodie, scray-tanned, mud on my shoes. "This is either very good," I said, "or I am about to be tackled by people with dental plans." Ms. Porter looked at me differently when she returned. "Careful." "Mr. Hollard," she said, "please come with me." Mr. Hollard. The name sounded strange when it came without an insult attached. She led me through a security door and into a private room with gray walls, a long table, and a window overlooking the city. A glass of water appeared in front of me. I drank too fast and almost choked. 5 minutes later, a man entered. He was tall, older, and dressed in a black suit without a tie. Silver touched the sides of his hair. His face had the calm of someone who knew everyone else already understood his price. Ms. Porter stood immediately. The security guard stood too. The man looked at me. "Mr. Evan Hollard," he said. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, remembered this room probably had cameras, and regretted having habits. Depends who is asking. His mouth moved slightly. "Victor Luck." That name I knew. Everyone knew. Victor Luck owned the Luck Jackpot, Luck Bank, and half the financial services people mentioned when they wanted to sound richer than they were. His name sat on lottery ads, bank towers, charity foundations, and one stadium my father had complained about for a month. He sat across from me. "You have been difficult to find. I spent the week freezing more than hiding." This time he smiled for real. "The ticket is valid. The prize is $3.4 billion, tax-free under this jackpot structure. There will be documents to sign, privacy options, and security protocols. We will move quickly because the news will move faster." The room tilted slightly. I gripped the chair. $3.4 billion. Hearing it from the television was one thing. Hearing it from Victor Luck, in a private room with guards outside the door, made it land differently. I was rich. Rich enough that my father's entire company looked like spare change in an old couch. My chest got tight. I thought of my mother. Clara's birthday numbers. Her joke about double gifts. "Mom," I whispered before I could stop myself. Victor's eyes moved to the ticket on the table. He left it alone. I appreciated that. For the next hour, people came in with forms. Privacy forms, claim forms, identity forms, banking instructions, security waivers. I signed where they told me, asked a few questions, understood about half the answers, and pretended that was a respectable percentage, At the end, Victor placed a small black case on the table. He opened it. Inside was a card. Plain platinum metal, smooth, heavy, and completely blank. Victor picked it up and held it out. "This is tied to your Luck Bank private account. Your liquid access is active. Security measures are layered through the bank. It behaves differently from normal cards at normal terminals, but approved systems will recognize it. I took it. It was cold and heavier than it should have been. How much is on it? Victor looked at me like I had asked whether water was wet. $3.4 billion. My fingers tightened. The whole room went quiet. I waited for joy. What I felt first was exhaustion, then hunger, then one ridiculous thought. Vanessa had made me dig through trash for the ID while I was already richer than everyone in that house combined. I started laughing. Victor watched me carefully. Sudden wealth can be dangerous, he said. Money changes less than people think. Mostly, it removes locks. Whatever is behind the door comes out. That's supposed to be advice? A warning. Do you warn all winners personally? Victor leaned back. Only the interesting ones. I had nothing smart to say to that. He closed the case and stood. Your identity will remain private for now. Rumors will begin. Be careful where you use the card, who sees you, and who hears your name. That sounded serious. I nodded like a person who planned to be careful. Funny, because within 24 hours, I would get myself arrested in a clothing store. Victor offered his hand. I shook it. Congratulations, Mr. Hollard. I looked down at the platinum card. For the first time since Vanessa shut the door, I had power. I still looked like the trash chute had adopted me, but the money was real, and I was hungry enough to misuse it. The first thing I wanted after becoming a billionaire was a shower. That sounds humble until you remember I had $3.4 billion and still smelled like a wet sock that had seen violence. I found a luxury sauna downtown because my brain saw the word luxury and forgot that I looked like someone who had lost a fight with public seating. The man at the front desk took one look at me and reached under the counter. Members only. I can pay for a membership. We are not accepting walk-ins. Your sign says, walk-ins welcome. He glanced at the sign, then back at me. Those are for people who belong here. Impressively honest prejudice. I stood there for 3 seconds with the platinum card in my pocket, wondering if this was where I should make my first grand billionaire speech. Then I remembered my clothes would still smell bad after I showered. So I left. A lake sat outside the city near a public trail. I washed there behind a cluster of trees using cold water and anger. The water was brutal. My soul briefly left my body, checked the area, and returned under protest. When I was done, I was technically cleaner. My clothes were still a crime scene. That mattered when I entered Eastbridge Mall, the most expensive shopping center in the area. Security spotted me before the automatic doors finished opening. One guard shifted his feet. A second guard watched from near the directory screen. Their faces had already written the summary of my crime. Dirty young man enters rich building. Motive, existing. I kept walking. People moved around me carrying designer bags, coffee cups, and tiny dogs with better grooming than mine. A woman pulled her daughter closer as I passed. I wanted to tell her I was harmless. Then I remembered the amount of money in my account and decided that was debatable. I stopped outside Chunel. Gold letters, glass doors, displays so empty they looked like the store had forgotten to stock itself and called it Taste. A black jacket in the front display caught my eye. Clean, sharp. The kind of thing a person wears when he wants the world to stop smelling him before listening. I wanted it. I walked toward the entrance. A sales associate stepped in front of me. She was young, perfectly styled, and wearing a smile with private disgust under it. Her name tag said, Jennifer Vale. Can I help you? She asked. That little sentence usually means, leave. I want to look around. Her eyes moved over my clothes. This store may not be in your price range. You do not know my price range. She smiled harder. There is a Doularama 2 levels down. They have basics. A second associate behind the counter laughed. A couple near the perfume display looked over. The girlfriend whispered something and lifted her phone halfway. Great, mall entertainment. I am going inside, I said. Jennifer put a hand up. Sir, I cannot allow you to enter smelling like that. I washed in a lake. That is basically organic. Please, leave. I stepped around her. She grabbed my sleeve. Bad move. After 2 weeks of being shoved, blocked, and dragged through humiliation, that hand on my clothes made my skin go hot. I looked down at her fingers. Remove it. Her smile vanished. Security. 2 guards came closer. I walked straight to the display rack and picked up the black jacket. Jennifer followed me, voice rising. Do not touch that. I am buying it. You cannot afford the hanger. The second associate laughed again. Jennifer stepped closer and lowered her voice, but the shoppers still heard. Do you even know how much that costs? It costs more than your pathetic life. The words hit harder than they should have. Pathetic life. Vanessa had said the same thing without using the exact words. Dylan too, different mouths, same little knife. I held the jacket tighter. Ring it up. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. You got it dirty. Then I should buy it. Get out. Ring it up. The store had gone quiet. Customers watched from behind glass shelves and perfume counters. Security stood close enough that one guard's sleeve brushed my arm. Jennifer made a show of sighing. Fine. She took the jacket with 2 fingers and carried it to the counter like it was contaminated. She scanned the tag. $45,000, she said, plus tax. Okay. That is usually how prices work. She laughed through her nose. Card. I placed the plain platinum card on the counter. The second associate stared at it. What is that? A card? Jennifer picked it up. There is no name. Observant. She inserted it into the terminal. The terminal sat there, useless. She smirked. Cute. Then the terminal changed. A private authorization screen loaded. The register beeped once. Approved. Jennifer's face emptied. The second associate leaned in. What is that? Jennifer stared at the card in her hand. Then she looked at me. Some people would rather invent a crime than admit they misjudged someone. Security, she said, hold him. I blinked. Excuse me? She snatched the card off the terminal and stepped back. This is stolen. It is mine. There is no owner's name because you removed it. What did you do, sand it down? We can still trace it, idiot. The guards grabbed my arms. One twisted my wrist behind my back. Pain shot up my shoulder. Let go, I snapped. Jennifer held the card up like evidence. Call the police. Customers whispered. Phones came out fully now. I struggled, but the guards pushed me against the counter. That is my card. Jennifer leaned close. People like you do not own cards like this. There it was. People like you. I could have explained. I could have asked them to call Luck Bank. I could have acted like a mature billionaire with patience, restraint, and whatever rich people pretend to have when they are not throwing yachts at problems. Instead, I kept fighting the guard's grip and saying, "Get your hand off my card." Police arrived 10 minutes later. So did Victor Luck. He entered Chanel with 2 men in dark suits and no visible hurry. The room changed the second people recognized him. Phones shifted from me to him. Jennifer went pale but tried to keep control. Mr. Luck, she said, rushing forward, there has been a misunderstanding. This man stole. Victor slapped her. The sound stopped every voice in the store. Jennifer's face turned with the impact. Her hand flew to her cheek. The police froze. The guards froze. I froze too, mostly because I never expected the billionaire final boss to choose physical customer service. Victor looked at her. Was I speaking to you? Jennifer shut her mouth. Victor turned to the guard holding me down. Release Mr. Hollard. The guard let go so fast he almost pushed me over. Victor took the platinum card from Jennifer's shaking hand and placed it back in mine. Mr. Hollard, he said, your card. I apologize for the inconvenience. Mr. Hollard. This time, the whole Chanel store heard it. The customers stared at me. The second associate looked ready to crawl under the counter and become inventory. Jennifer's face had gone from smug to confused fear. I should have taken the card, walked out, and hired a lawyer later. That would have been smart. Unfortunately, I was 18, homeless 2 days ago, sleep-deprived, publicly humiliated, and freshly called a thief by a woman holding my money like evidence of my birth defect. I walked up to Jennifer. She looked at me with one cheek red from Victor's slap. I gave her a small smile. You deserve the matching set. Then I slapped the crap out of her other cheek. For half a second it felt incredible. Then the police officer grabbed my arm. Sir, you are under arrest. I looked at Victor, then at Jennifer, then at the officer. He did it first. The officer cared exactly 0%. Apparently billionaire slaps and homeless-looking teenager slaps live in different legal neighborhoods. As they led me out of Chanel, I looked back at Jennifer. She was crying now, the shocked kind. I should have felt bad. Maybe later. Probably never. Detention smelled like bleach, old sweat, and people regretting choices they were definitely going to repeat. I sat on a metal bench in a holding cell with my Chanel bag in evidence storage, my platinum card locked behind a desk, and my first billionaire purchase turning into a criminal record speedrun. That was missing from the Luck Jackpot brochure. The officer booking me asked my name. Evan Hollard. He looked at the screen. Age, 18. He looked at me again. You slapped a retail employee? In fairness, I was maintaining symmetry. He skipped that part. Coward. The charges were annoying. Assault. Disturbance. A few words that sound worse when typed by government software. Victor Luck's people handled lawyers and paperwork, but the store pushed the complaint hard. Jennifer had discovered moral injury 30 seconds after calling me a thief. I ended up in detention for 6 days while things crawled through the system. 6 days is a long time to sit with one bad decision. By the second day, I had replayed the slap in my head so many times I started judging the angle. By the third, I admitted it was stupid. By the fourth, I admitted I would probably do it again if time reversed and gave me the same look on Jennifer's face. Growth apparently takes detours through stupidity. The police station had 3 holding cells along one wall. Across from me, in the far cell, sat a thick-necked man with a shaved head and a tattoo crawling up one side of his neck. His name came through when officers checked paperwork. Rocco Dane. He stayed quiet at first. He watched. I hated that more. On the second night, 2 officers stood near the coffee machine outside the cells. Their voices were low in the way people think. Low means private. It never does. One officer said, "You hear about the kid in cell 2? The other officer said, "The chunal slap? Yeah." Victor Luck showed up personally at the store. Victor Luck, for that kid? Mall security said he walked in, slapped the employee, and called him Mr. Hollard. No way. I am telling you, and the jackpot got claimed the same day, winner hidden. The second officer went quiet. Then he said, "You think? I am not saying anything. I like my pension." They laughed. I stopped breathing for a second. Across the corridor, Rocco lifted his head. His eyes found me. Then he smiled, slowly, like he had just found a missing wallet. My stomach went cold. I looked away. That was stupid. Looking away never convinces a predator you are safe. It only makes you feel smaller. The next morning, Rocco was still watching. He leaned against the bars. "Hollard," he said. I kept quiet. "That is you, right?" I kept my eyes on the floor. He laughed softly. "Rich name. It is a name. Luck likes you. I am charming. You do not look charming. Bad week." Rocco's smile widened. "Bad week can become worse." An officer yelled at him to shut up. Rocco stepped back from the bars, but his eyes stayed on me. For the next 4 days, he kept looking over. When meals came, when officers changed shifts, when someone got released, when the room went quiet at night and the lights stayed too bright. He smiled whenever our eyes met. I tried to tell myself he was just another creep in a cell. The officers kept gossiping anyway. One mentioned the hidden jackpot again. Another mentioned Victor Luck's name. A third said, "Whoever won better have security. That kind of money makes rats grow wings." Rocco heard all of it. So did I. That was the problem with sudden wealth. The money was invisible, but the smell got out. On the 6th day, my attorney finally got everything sorted enough for release. The complaint still existed, but the cell door opened for me. The officer opened my cell. "Hollard, you're out!" I stood, legs stiff. The first thought I had was fresh air. The second was food. The third was Vanessa. Apparently my brain had priorities designed by a raccoon with trauma. I wanted to go to the old house. I wanted to show Vanessa the card and watch her face change when she realized the leech had more money than her entire fake widow performance could dream of. The high road existed somewhere. I respected its construction. Then I chose the dirt path beside it because it had better scenery. As I stepped out of the holding area, Rocco came to the bars. "Evan!" I stopped. I should have kept walking. He gripped the bars with both hands. His smile was gone now. That made him worse. "We're gonna find you," he said. The officer behind me snapped, "Dane, shut your mouth." Rocco kept looking at me. Big money makes big noise. The officer pulled me forward. Outside the station, the sun hit my face. It felt amazing for about 3 seconds. Then Rocco's words settled behind my ribs. I told myself I had Victor Luck, lawyers, money, security options. I told myself Rocco was one man behind bars. I told myself a lot of things. A parked car window showed my reflection. 18, dirty around the edges, richer than almost anyone alive, still flinching at threats like I was outside Vanessa's door again. "Good job, Evan," I muttered. "You won the lottery and speed ran becoming a target." Then I turned toward my old neighborhood. Rocco could wait. Vanessa had waited long enough. I planned to walk into my old neighborhood like a petty little storm. I was going to stand outside the Hollard house in my $45,000 Schonel jacket, let Vanessa look me up and down, and say something calm enough to bother her. Maybe I would ask if she preferred checks or apologies. Maybe I would ask if Dylan wanted to borrow money for a personality. Was that mature? Barely. Was I excited? A little. I took a car from the station area to the edge of the neighborhood because my money had not turned into a normal life yet. I had no home routine, no real phone plan, no bed that felt like mine, and no ability to make decisions without emotional caffeine. The car dropped me near the main road. I walked past the gatehouse where Paul worked. Then I saw the sign. White board. Black letters. Gold border. Arthur James Hollard. Memorial Service. Hollard Residence. For a second, my brain refused to read it properly. Arthur. Memorial. My father. I stood on the sidewalk while cars moved behind me. A woman in black heels walked past holding flowers. A man in a dark suit lowered his voice when he saw my face. Arthur Hollard was healthy. Annoyingly healthy. He drank green juice like it owed him money. He jogged every morning and judged elevators like they were moral failures. He had betrayed me. He had chosen Vanessa. He had let me sleep outside. Death did not fit him. My legs moved before I decided to run. I reached the gate. Paul stepped out of the guard booth, face pale. "Evan," he said. "Open it." Open the gate, Paul." He hesitated, then pressed the button. I ran up the driveway. The house was full of black cars, flower arrangements, and people pretending grief had a dress code. Guests stood near the entryway. Some recognized me. Some whispered. I pushed through them. "Dad!" My voice cracked. I hated that it cracked. Vanessa appeared at the top of the front steps. She wore a black dress that looked too tight for mourning and too expensive for sincerity. Her makeup was thick. Her sunglasses sat on top of her head even though she was indoors. One hand held a tissue. The tissue looked unused. Perfect, Vanessa. Even grief had to accessorize. She saw me. For 1 second, fury showed before the widow mask came back. Then she rushed down the steps and slapped me across the face in front of everyone. The sound cracked through the entryway. Guests froze. My cheek burned. I barely felt it. "Where were you?" Vanessa shouted. "Where were you when your father was in the hospital?" Hospital? The word hit wrong. What hospital? She slapped me again. This time, I felt it. "Do not play dumb," she snapped. "You disappeared, and now you crawl back today? Today?" Dylan came from the side hall wearing a black shirt and no tie. His eyes were red, but when he looked at me, grief sharpened into disgust. "You have got to be kidding me," he said. "He shows up now?" I looked past them into the house. Flowers everywhere, my father's portrait on an easel. Arthur hollered, smiling in a framed photo near the fireplace, the same fireplace where he had stood silent while Vanessa threw me out. My knees almost gave out. I walked toward the portrait. Vanessa grabbed my arm. "Do not touch anything." I pulled free. "What happened to him?" Her eyes flashed. "As if you care. What happened?" Dylan stepped closer. "He got sick. Fast. Mom handled everything because you were busy being dramatic somewhere." "Sick. Fast." Those words felt wrong for my father. I turned to Vanessa. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" She laughed once, sharp and public. "Tell you how? You ran out with no phone, acting like a wild dog. You made your choice." That lie was so clean it almost impressed me. She had kept my phone. She had thrown my wallet away. She had made me dig through trash for the ID that let me claim the jackpot. The guests saw the widow, the grieving stepson, and the dirty real son who arrived late and loud. Vanessa knew exactly how the picture looked. She lifted the tissue to her eye, still dry. "And if you came here expecting your father's inheritance," she said, "too bad. Arthur transferred everything to me before he passed. The house, the accounts, Hollard Limited. His will was clear. Inheritance. She thought I came for inheritance. I had $3.4 billion behind a plain metal card, and she thought I wanted my father's leftover furniture. The money meant nothing in that moment. My father was dead. He had died while I sat in a holding cell because I slapped a sales associate in the store. The last words between us had been him telling me not to make things harder. I hated him. I loved him. Both truths shoved against each other until breathing got hard. I looked at his portrait. For a second, I saw him years ago at the kitchen table. My mother laughing as he burned pancakes. Me sitting between them with syrup on my shirt. Arthur telling me one day I would understand that companies were just people making promises on paper. He had been warm then. Before Clara died. Before Vanessa. Before silence became his favorite answer. My eyes burned. Dylan said, "Go, you made Dad suffer enough." That line went through me. I looked at him. He held my stare for half a second, then looked away first. Even he knew that one was low. I turned toward the door. Vanessa called after me. "Do not come back again, Evan. This is a family mourning." A family mourning. I almost laughed. I almost told her she had no idea what I had in my pocket. I almost told her that if she wanted inheritance, I could bury her in money and still not notice the dent. Instead, I looked back once at my father's portrait. "Goodbye, Dad," I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted. Then I left. Outside, I walked until the house disappeared behind trees. My face still stung from Vanessa's slaps. My eyes kept watering, which annoyed me because tears make sidewalks blurry and I had already lost enough direction. I ended up on a park bench again. Different park. Same emotional furniture. The platinum card sat in my pocket. $3.4 billion. My father was dead. I still had nowhere to sleep. Money had fixed exactly one problem so far. I was now miserable with better potential. I wiped my face with my sleeve. "First," I said to nobody, "I need a place to live." Revenge could wait one more day. Grief had nowhere to sit. The first hotel I walked into almost turned me away. The desk clerk looked at my clothes, my face, and my lack of luggage. His expression did the math poor people always lose. Then I placed the platinum card on the counter. He stared at it like it came from another planet. The terminal did. His posture changed so fast I thought he might hurt his spine. "Of course, Mr. Hollard," he said, suddenly full of manners. "We have a premium suite available." I took it because I needed a door that locked, a shower that worked, and a bed that had never been mistaken for a park bench. The suite was quiet. Too quiet. Big windows, white sheets. A bathroom bigger than some apartments. A fruit basket sat on the table like someone had arranged grapes for a person with emotional stability. I showered for almost an hour. Dirt came off. The funeral stayed. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed wearing a hotel robe, holding the platinum card in one hand and my crumpled lottery ticket in the other. The ticket was useless now, technically. The claim was complete. The money was mine. I kept it anyway. Some trash becomes holy after it saves your life. The next morning, I decided to buy a home. That sounds simple when you have $3.4 billion. Turns out, real estate people still saw an 18-year-old kid wasting their time. I had no permanent address, and I looked like a rich kid only if rich kids had recently been kicked through several emotional windows. The first real estate office had glass walls and a receptionist who looked at me like I was a prank. "I want to buy a condo," I said. She smiled with no teeth. "Our listings start at 7 figures, that is fine. Do your parents know you were here?" Parents. The word landed in the empty space where both of mine should have been. I smiled anyway. "Sure, I can bring both of them if you have a shovel and terrible timing." Her face changed. She told me all agents were busy. I left. The second office was worse. An agent in a shiny suit asked if I was filming a social experiment. The third told me to finish school before wasting adult time. The fourth asked if I was looking for rental assistance. By the fifth, I was tired enough to consider buying the whole building just to replace the sign with something rude. Then I found Maya Chen's office. It sat between a closed nail salon and a tax prep place with peeling window stickers. The sign above the door flickered. The carpet inside had seen better decades. One plant near the desk had given up and become brown decoration. Maya stood when I entered. She was maybe in her late 20s, wearing a navy blazer and the anxious smile of someone whose business needed this to be a customer and not a person asking for directions. "Hi," she said. "Welcome. How can I help you?" She looked curious instead of disgusted. That alone almost made me suspicious. "I want to buy a place." "Okay," she said carefully. "For yourself or your family?" "Myself." Her eyes flicked over me. "Young face, Chanel jacket, cheap shoes, weird combination." She noticed, but she did not laugh. "What kind of budget? Show me your best." Best is a dangerous word in real estate. I have had a dangerous week. She smiled a little and turned her monitor toward me. She showed me listings. Most were nice, some were ridiculous. Then, one caught my eye. A penthouse condo in the most expensive district in the city, 25th floor, private elevator, wide terrace, city view, $25 million. It looked empty, clean, and far enough above the street that nobody could throw me out without effort. "That one," I said. Maya blinked. "That is 25 million. I saw. Dollars, I assumed." She looked at my shoes, my jacket, my face. Her eyes stopped on the Chanel tag near the cuff. The same limited jacket Jennifer had nearly got me arrested over. Maya's expression shifted toward possibility. "I can contact the seller," she said. "I will need your contact number." I stared at her. "I need to buy a phone first." She paused. "You want to buy a $25 million condo, and you need to buy a phone first?" I have been busy. That was technically true. She looked like she had questions and liked rent enough to swallow most of them. "All right," she said. "I will start the inquiry. Come back with a number when you have one." I appreciated her so much in that moment that I almost told her the truth. Trust is expensive even when you are rich. I left and bought a phone at the mall, a nice one. Then lunch, a very nice lunch. I ate like a man trying to apologize to his stomach for 2 weeks of neglect. That was when Dylan found me. He was walking with 3 friends near the Upper Mall Bridge, laughing too loudly. He saw the Chanel bag first, then the jacket, then my face. His smile turned into a performance. "No way," Dylan said. "Evan?" I kept walking. He stepped in front of me. "Is that Chanel?" His friends looked me over. One of them snickered. Dylan pinched the sleeve like he was inspecting counterfeit merchandise. "This is the fakest thing I have ever seen." I looked at his hand until he dropped the sleeve. "Move. Relax. I am impressed. Your mom is gone, your dad is gone, the house is gone, and you still have enough confidence to wear fake luxury." My jaw tightened. The mall sounds faded around me. Dylan turned to his friends. "This is the guy I told you about. Tried to leech off my dad, sucked the life out of the family, then vanished. Dad died right after. Some people are just bad luck." My hand closed into a fist. I saw myself hitting him. His mouth cracking sideways, his friends stepping back, security running, police again, Rocco's smile. Dylan saw my fist and leaned closer. "What, you mad? Going to punch me, little bastard? Do it!" His friends leaned in, hungry for a reaction. There it was, the trap, stupid little hook, my anger as bait. I breathed through my nose and opened my fist one finger at a time. Not today, I said. Dylan laughed. Coward! Experienced! I stepped around him. His friends laughed behind me, but it sounded thinner than before. I kept walking until I reached the escalator. Only then did I realize my hands were shaking. I wanted to hurt him. I still did. But I wanted to choose the bill next time. Maybe jail taught me something after all. Timing. Maya called the new phone 2 hours later. Hearing my own phone ring felt weirdly adult. I had gone from dumpster adjacent to condo negotiations in less than a week. My life had no pacing discipline. Mr. Hollard, Maya said, Evan is fine. The seller is willing to move quickly if funds are verified. They want proof before taking it off the market. How quickly? Tomorrow, if you can provide a certified check for $25 million? Yes. I looked at the platinum card on the hotel desk. I can do that. There was a pause. Maya said, I have to ask, are you sure? That was why I liked her. The other agents asked if I was poor. Maya asked if I understood what I was doing. No clue, I said, but I am buying it anyway. She exhaled like the answer created paperwork and concern at the same time. The next morning, I walked into a Luck Bank branch downtown. A regular branch. Marble floors, soft chairs, and tellers behind a long counter. I had showered. My shower jacket was clean. My shoes were still basic because a shoe strategy had not entered my life yet. Apparently billionaires need those. I was learning slowly. A teller called me over. Her name tag said Jennifer Park. Different Jennifer, same warning energy. How can I help you? She asked. I need a certified check. Amount, $25 million. Her fingers stopped over the keyboard. 25 million? That is the one. She smiled politely, but the smile had cracks. Do you have an account with us? I placed the platinum card on the counter. She stared at it. What is this? My card. This is not a Luck Bank card. Victor Luck gave it to me. She looked at me like I had claimed the moon left me a voicemail. Sir, I have worked here 5 years. I have never seen this card. That makes 2 of us before this week. She picked up the platinum card, turned it over, and frowned. It has no visible chip, strip, number, or name. It is private. It is a piece of metal. A customer behind me laughed quietly. Here we go again. Jennifer Park slid the card back across the counter. I cannot help you. Can you call your manager? My manager has actual customers. I am an actual customer. She picked up the card again and tossed it toward me. It hit my chest and dropped into my hands. Go waste someone else's time, she said, and next time make your fake prop look less stupid. The branch went quiet enough that several people heard. My face got hot. Before I could decide whether this Jennifer also needed matching cheeks, footsteps slammed across the floor. A man in a dark suit rushed from a side office so fast his tie swung sideways. He stopped beside the counter, saw the card in my hand, and went pale. Then he bowed. Deep. Almost 90 degrees. Mr. Hollard, he said, welcome to Luck Bank. How may we assist you today? Jennifer Park froze. The customer behind me stopped laughing. I looked at the manager. I need a $25 million check. Of course, sir. Right away, Jennifer whispered. Manager Reed, that card. The manager turned his head slowly. If looks could write termination letters, hers had already been printed. Ms. Park, he said, you have just thrown a platinum private access card at one of our Ligma VIP clients. Jennifer blinked. Ligma, what? The branch went still. I also went still. I had heard many rich people titles in the past 48 hours. That one was new. Manager Reed straightened. Look, Max, incredible Goatman aura, very important person, Ligma VIP. For 3 seconds, nobody breathed. Then, I coughed into my hand because laughing in a bank while being called a Goatman or a client felt financially irresponsible. Jennifer looked like her soul had left the building and refused direct deposit. Apologize, Manager Reed said. She turned to me. I am sorry, Mr. Hollard. Lower, the manager said. She bent at the waist. I am very sorry, Mr. Hollard. I should have said it was fine. It was definitely not fine, but I was trying to reduce my daily arrest probability. Thank you, I said. Manager Reed led me to a private room with leather chairs, water bottles, and a bowl of mints that probably cost more than my old weekly allowance. I apologize for the incident, he said. Private platinum cards are not processed at normal teller terminals. Staff should still escalate unusual client instruments. She escalated it into my face. His mouth tightened. That will be handled. Within 15 minutes, he had the check prepared. He also handed me special high-limit check drafts and a private banking contact number. For future needs, he said. Future needs. A week ago, my future need was calories. I took the check to Maya's office. The bell over her door chimed when I entered. Maya looked up from her desk. Evan. I placed the check in front of her. She looked down, her expression changed slowly. $25 million, certified, Luck Bank. Her hand went to her mouth. This is real, that is the rumor. She sat down, then stood again, then sat down properly. I am sorry if I seemed doubtful. You were polite while doubtful, that is luxury service compared to my week. She laughed once, nervous but real. I will finalize everything with the seller. Where should I deliver the keys when it closes? I gave her the hotel address, room number, and phone number. As I left, she called after me. Evan, I turned. For what it is worth, Maya said, you look serious to me. That should have been a small thing, it hit harder than expected. After days of being called a leech, thief, beggar, fake, and coward, one person treating me like a serious human being felt suspiciously close to kindness. I nodded. Thanks, Maya. Back at the hotel, I sat at the desk with my new phone, the platinum card, and a room service burger large enough to require structural engineering. I had a homecoming. I had money. I had a bank that invented terrible VIP acronyms. For the first time, I had enough quiet to think about Vanessa without immediately seeing red. That was dangerous. Quiet gives revenge room to organize itself. I started looking into Hollard Limited because I thought I wanted to buy my dad's company. That was the title in my head, at least. My first plan was simple and stupid. Dad built it, Mom helped, Vanessa stole it. I had $3.4 billion. I would buy the company, walk in, and enjoy the shape her face made. Very mature, obviously. Then I opened the records and realized my father's company was less of a company and more of a financial grenade with a logo. Hollard Limited was respected in our town, but calling it a $100 million empire would be comedy. On a good day, maybe 40 million. Building supplies, maintenance contracts, regional logistics, commercial service deals. Around our community, that made Arthur Hollard a big man. Rich enough for charity dinners, a famous house, and women like Vanessa to suddenly discover his personality. Outside our town, it was a medium company wearing a nice suit and praying nobody checked the seams. The company still mattered to me because Clara mattered. My mother used to sit at the dining table with invoices around her plate. She called clients when Dad was too proud. She remembered birthdays, fixed supplier fights, wrote apology letters my father signed without reading, and somehow made his dream look professional. Hollard Limited had her fingerprints all over it. So I opened public filings, credit reports, supplier liens, debt summaries, and whatever Luck Bank's private team could legally pull without making me an actual criminal. The first hour confused me. The second hour made me angry. By the third hour, I was staring at the screen with one hand over my mouth. The company was bleeding. Debt everywhere. Late supplier payments. Losses hidden under cheerful wording. Old equipment loans rolled into new loans. Short-term credit used like tape on a broken pipe. Then I saw the withdrawals. Large personal expenses pushed through the company. Transfers that looked like my father, or someone using my father's authority, had been treating the company account like his personal wallet. My accounting education consisted of common sense and panic. Even I knew this smelled bad. For anyone who does not spend free time cuddling tax law, even if a company is yours, even if you own 100%, you cannot just take money from it and use it like cash from your kitchen drawer. Taxes exist, records exist, payroll exists, lenders exist, the IRS exists, and those people do not seem like they laugh at memes during work. Vanessa had inherited the house, she had inherited the company, she had inherited the accounts, and if these records were real, she had inherited a ticking time bomb. I leaned back in the hotel chair and stared at the ceiling. For a minute, it felt sick instead of fun. Arthur's name was on too many approvals. My father, the same man who preached discipline and responsibility, had been pulling money out of the company my mother helped build. That hurt in a different way. Vanessa being rotten was boring. She came with the warning label printed on her forehead if you knew how to read cheap perfume and fake tears. My father still had the power to disappoint me from beyond the grave. I closed the laptop for 10 minutes, then I opened it again. Grief could sit beside me. Revenge took the wheel. Luck Bank connected me with a private advisor. I told him to keep it simple because the second he started using long finance words, my brain was going to pack a bag and leave. He explained it cleanly. Hollard Limited had old debt. Some lenders wanted out. One major claim tied to company assets was available at a discount because the lender expected a fight. If I bought that claim, I would not own the shiny company right away, but I would own one of the ropes around its neck. That was enough for me. I bought the rope. One wire transfer, one signature package, one private banking confirmation. Done. Then I gathered the records showing improper withdrawals, unpaid taxes, and personal spending through company accounts. I packaged them cleanly enough that nobody could call it a random angry kid rant. And then came the big moral test. I could be the bigger man. I could say, hey, I have $3.4 billion now, why bother with Vanessa? Let her keep the little house, the little company, the little fake widow act. I could forgive her, move into my $25 million condo, drink expensive juice, and pretend I had evolved. I considered that option for maybe 4 seconds. Then I decided to contact the IRS. Being a snake? Yeah, payback time. I mean, who would not be petty after digging through garbage for an ID while their stepmom laughed? The woman on the IRS line had a calm voice. Too calm, government calm, the kind of voice that makes even revenge feel like paperwork. I gave her the company information, the records, the proof of money moving out wrong, and the names attached to everything. Then I said, I think you should go and seize their assets, like tomorrow, or maybe today. Today would be dope. The woman paused. Mr. Hollard, we cannot seize someone's assets tomorrow or today based on a phone call. We need to review the information. It may take several business days. Several business days. Awful phrase. I said, okay, fair. But if you ever do plan to go down there and seize their assets, please let me know, because I need to get this pleasure in person. She said, we cannot do that. I nodded even though she could not see me. Oh well, I said, all right. I hung up and stared at the laptop. Vanessa wanted everything transferred to her before Dad died. Fine, she could have everything, including the bill. Maya closed the condo deal a few days later. The seller moved fast because $25 million makes people discover a work ethic. Maya delivered the keys to my hotel herself. She held the envelope out with both hands. Congratulations, she said. I took the keys, small silver keys, normal keys, nothing flashy. My first home since Vanessa kicked me out. Mine, thank you, I said. My voice came out rough. Maya pretended not to notice. Good ally behavior. I moved into the condo that night with a bag of clothes, the lottery ticket, the platinum card, my new phone, and a folder full of documents that could ruin Vanessa's week. The place echoed when I walked through it. City lights filled the windows. The terrace stood 25 floors above the street. Somewhere in the distance, Vanessa was sleeping in the house she thought she had won. Dylan was probably yelling at a screen and calling it leadership training. At that time, I had no clue Rocco's people were already sniffing around for the hidden jackpot winner. My attention was somewhere else. I had reported the company. I had bought the broken claim. I had no idea when the hammer would fall, so the next morning, I bought popcorn. Every day for the next week, I sat a short distance from my old house with a bag of popcorn. Yes, really. I had a $25 million condo, private banking access, and enough money to make normal rich people feel broke. I still chose to sit on a bench like a petty neighborhood ghost waiting for black cars to arrive. Instead of taking the high road, I took the bench with the best view. Because I am petty like that. The first 2 days wasted my snacks and gave me nothing. The third day, a dog tried to steal my popcorn and showed better strategy than Dylan. The fourth day, I started wondering if the IRS lady had thrown my report into the same trash chute Vanessa used for my wallet. The fifth day, Vanessa came jogging down the path. She wore a white athletic jacket, black leggings, full makeup, and a ponytail that looked rehearsed. Who wears full makeup to sweat near trees? Vanessa, apparently. Even grief cardio needed a beauty filter. She slowed when she saw me. First came recognition, then disgust, then that ugly little smile she got whenever she thought she had found a weak spot. She jogged toward me and stopped a few feet away. "What are you even doing here?" she asked. I looked at the popcorn bag in my hand. "Can't you see? I'm eating popcorn." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not get cute with me, you pathetic bastard." There she was, green tea stepmom in the wild, sweet voice when Arthur watched, trash mouth the second she thought she owned the room. I ate another piece of popcorn. "This bench is public, the popcorn is private, respect boundaries." Vanessa stepped closer. "Arthur is dead, and you are still hanging around this family like a stray waiting for scraps. You still want to leech off us after your dad died?" My hand tightened around the bag. The line hit hard, but I kept chewing. "You keep saying leech," I said. "The only doo-doo heads who leeched off this family were you and your son. But sure, continue." Her face twisted. She slapped the popcorn out of my hand. The bag burst against my chest. Popcorn scattered across my jacket and the bench. A jogger slowed nearby. Vanessa pointed at me. "Look at you. New clothes, same trash. You think a fake jacket makes you somebody?" I looked down at the popcorn on my lap. Then I reached into the tote bag beside me and pulled out a second bag. Vanessa stared. I opened it and started eating again. "You were saying?" Her mouth opened a little. Then she slapped the second bag too. Popcorn flew across the path. A pigeon somewhere probably thought God had personally answered prayer. The jogger stopped completely. Across the street, a gardener near the Hollard gate looked over. I stared at Vanessa. She stared back, breathing hard, still wearing that fake rich exercise outfit like it gave her authority. I stood. Without the front door behind her and my father staying silent nearby, she looked smaller. Very small. I looked down at her and said, "I didn't know you were this small." For the first time, her confidence blinked. I leaned a little closer. "You're going to regret slapping my popcorns like that." Vanessa stepped back half a step, then caught herself. "Yeah? What are you going to do about it? Hit me, you little bastard kid?" I stared at her. Then I turned toward my tote bag and reached inside. Her eyes widened. "What are you doing?" I kept searching. She stepped back again. I looked at her without saying a word. Then I pulled out the third bag of popcorn, the last one. I sat back down, opened it, and ate a handful. "Backup snacks," I said. For one beautiful second, Vanessa looked scared of a popcorn bag. Then fury saved her pride. She lunged forward and slapped me across the face. My sunglasses fell onto the bench. The sound cracked across the path. The gardener froze. The joggers stopped pretending to stretch. My cheek burned. At the funeral, grief had made me soft. This time, I stared at Vanessa while chewing popcorn, slowly, pettily, with focus. Over her shoulder, black cars rolled through the neighborhood gate. One, then another, then a third. Plain black sedans. Government plates, men in dark suits getting out near the hollered driveway. I smiled. Vanessa noticed my face and followed my eyes. The color left her cheeks. Dylan came out of the house in a hoodie, holding a game controller like it was life support. He saw the men near the front door and lifted one hand like strangers had interrupted his sacred schedule of doing nothing. One of the men pointed toward Vanessa. She backed away from me. "What is this?" I picked up my sunglasses and put them on. "Are you sure you have time to waste on this bastard?" I asked, pointing toward the house. "I think you got something more important to deal with." Vanessa ran. The graceful widow act disappeared. She ran across the path, through the gate, and up the driveway like the ground had started charging rent. I followed slowly behind her, eating popcorn from the last bag. The gardener watched me pass. I offered him some. He shook his head, eyes wide. "Fair." By the time I reached the driveway, 2 agents were speaking to Vanessa near the steps. Dylan stood beside her, pale and confused. A few neighbors drifted toward their gates. Curtains shifted in windows. Rich people love pretending they are not watching drama while absolutely watching drama. One agent held out a folder. "Mrs. Hollard, assets connected to Hollard Limited are currently frozen pending investigation. This includes company accounts, certain property interests, and discretionary assets connected to company funds." Vanessa blinked. "What do you mean frozen?" "We received information about fraudulent activity within Hollard Limited. Preliminary review confirmed enough to begin enforcement action." Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, doing absolutely no useful work. "My husband just died," she said. The agent's face stayed blank. "I understand. The notice is still active." Dylan's voice cracked. "Wait, what about my gaming setup?" Everyone looked at him. He pointed toward the house. "My computers, my monitors, my chair. That's not seized, right?" The second agent checked his tablet. "If purchased through company-linked accounts, they are included in the review." Dylan grabbed his hair. "No, my Municraft progress. I was so close to beating the dragon." I nearly choked on popcorn. There are moments where grief, rage, justice, and comedy all enter the same driveway and refuse to stand apart. This was one of them. Vanessa turned and saw me at the edge of the driveway. Her eyes narrowed through panic. "You," she said. I lifted both hands. "Me? I am just eating popcorn." Vanessa pointed at me like I had personally driven the black cars into her driveway. Emotionally accurate. Legally, my attorney would probably prefer a different sentence. "What did you do?" Vanessa demanded. I looked at the agent with the folder and put on my most innocent face. "Seized assets? What do you mean?" The agent glanced at me, then back at Vanessa. "We received credible information regarding fraudulent activity and improper financial movement within Hollard Limited. The review supports immediate action." I pressed one hand to my chest. "Oh my God, who would do such things to this poor family?" Vanessa stared at me. Dylan looked like someone had unplugged him and plugged him back in wrong. I kept going because sometimes, once you commit to being evil, you have to finish the scene. She just lost her husband. She is widowed, sad, depressed. I think I saw her entering a male strip club a few days ago, but I guess that is not too relevant. People grieve differently. A neighbor made a choking sound behind the hedge. Vanessa's eyes went wide. "You filthy liar." "Maybe," I said, "but whoever brought down this poor family is so evil, evil indeed." The first agent's mouth twitched like he wanted to be assigned literally anywhere else. Dylan stepped toward me. "You think this is funny?" I looked at him. "Your first concern was Municraft, so yes, a little." Vanessa grabbed for the agent's folder. The agent pulled it back. Mrs. Hollard, please do not interfere with the documents. This is my house, she snapped. The property is connected to the review. That line hit her harder than my slap would have. For years, Vanessa acted like the Hollard house belonged to her because she yelled the loudest. Now a government agent stood on her driveway and told her the house was paperwork under review. Her hand shook around her sleeve. Dylan saw it and finally looked scared. Good. About time. Vanessa turned back to me. You are enjoying this. I looked at the popcorn bag. I brought snacks, you spiteful little bastard. Several neighbors stopped pretending to check their hedges. I stepped closer. Careful, Vanessa, the widow mask is slipping. She lifted her hand like she wanted to slap me again. I stayed still. The agent saw it. The neighbors saw it. Paul, standing near the gate, saw it too. Vanessa lowered her hand slowly. That felt better than a slap. For once, witnesses made her behave. I looked at Dylan. You wanted my room. You got it. You wanted my place. You got it. You wanted the company pin. You got that too. His jaw worked. Shut up. Turns out you also got the company debt, the frozen accounts, the tax mess, and the review. Full inheritance package. Congratulations, little bro. Dylan's face twisted. You are the one behind this? I looked at Vanessa. Then Dylan. Then the house where I begged my father to look at me. The house where my room became Dylan's gaming cave. The house where I dug through garbage for my ID while they laughed. The house where my father's funeral happened without me. I smiled. Well, I said, I'm pretty sure that person is me. Vanessa stopped moving. Dylan stared. You? Me? How? I tapped the side of my jacket. The plain platinum card sat inside, heavy and quiet. Lottery, I said. Biggest luck jackpot in American history. $3.4 billion. Tax-free. Dylan froze. Vanessa blinked like the words walked into her head and found nobody home. That is impossible. You made me dig through trash for the ID to claim it, I said. Terrible hospitality, useful result. Paul lowered his head near the gate. I could not tell if he was hiding a smile or shame, neighbors whispered. Dylan pointed at me, hand shaking. You won $3.4 billion, and you did all this because of my gaming room? And the funeral slap, and the trash chute, and mom, and dad, and because you called my funeral fake. Honestly, Dylan, you contributed a lot. Team effort. His face went red. You are the reason I cannot defeat the Municraft dragon. That sentence broke me, comedically. I laughed in the driveway while agents held seizure documents. Vanessa stood pale under her widow makeup. Dylan clutched his controller like a dying pet, and neighbors watched from behind expensive landscaping. Dylan lunged. He swung at me with all the grace of a gamer whose cardio came from rage quitting. I stepped half aside and slapped the crap out of him. His head turned. He stumbled with one hand on his cheek, eyes huge. The driveway went silent. Even the agents paused. I pointed at him. Yep, I said, that was me, little bro, and that one was for my room. Dylan stared at me like I had violated the natural order. Maybe I had. For years he spoke from behind Vanessa, behind Arthur, behind the house, behind money he did not earn. He never considered what would happen when the person he mocked stopped asking permission to be angry. Vanessa screamed. Police! He hit my son! He swung first, I said. The second agent looked like he agreed and regretted waking up for this assignment. Vanessa stepped toward me, fury ripping through the widow act completely. You destroyed this family. That line opened something in me. I stepped closer until she had to tilt her chin up. You did that when you threw me out. My father did that when he stayed silent. Dylan did that every time he laughed from inside a house my mother helped build. I just made sure the bill arrived while you were home. Her eyes shook. For 1 second, she looked past me toward the neighbors, Paul, the agents, and the faces watching behind hedges. People had heard, so she reached for victimhood. Her face crumpled fast. Evan, she said, soft now. You are hurt. I understand. Arthur is gone. We only have each other. Do not do this. We only have each other. Family is amazing. Some people use it like a blanket when they are cold and a rope when they want to drag you back. No, I said. You had me when you could hurt me. Now, I said. You had me when you could hurt me. Now you want me because consequences found your address. Her fake tears stopped too fast. There she was. Vanessa's mouth twisted. You bastard! You little bastard! I'm gonna... I slapped the crap out of her before she finished. That was absolutely a terrible idea. The kind of idea attorneys wake up sweating about. But her face turned with the impact. And for one ugly, honest second, the woman who had slapped me at the door, at the funeral, on the jogging path, and through years of private humiliations stood stunned in front of everyone. I smiled. That was for my popcorn. The driveway exploded. Vanessa shouted. Dylan shouted. One neighbor gasped like she had paid extra for premium drama. Paul moved forward and stopped. The agents raised their hands trying to control the scene. A police cruiser arrived within minutes because rich neighborhoods summon police faster than pizza. Vanessa pointed at me, face red, eyes wet with fury instead of grief. He hit me. Arrest him! That's harassment! Arrest him now! The officer looked at me. I raised both hands. Yeah, I said. I did. My attorney would have hated that. The officer turned me around and cuffed me. Cold metal closed around my wrists. Again. I looked at the house. Black cars in the driveway, agents at the door, Dylan holding his cheek, Vanessa shaking with rage, neighbors watching the widow act burn down in daylight. Then I looked at Paul near the gate. He met my eyes. For the first time in years, he did not look away. The officer guided me toward the cruiser. Vanessa screamed, "You will regret this!" I paused before ducking into the back seat. "Probably," I said, "but not today." The door shut. Through the window, I saw Vanessa still yelling while an agent handed her another notice. Dylan tried to run back inside, and another agent blocked the door. His face crumpled like someone had told him oxygen required paperwork. I leaned back against the seat. My cheek hurt. My hand hurt too. My freedom was temporarily on vacation. But the house that threw me out was surrounded. The assets were frozen, and Vanessa finally knew the leech she mocked had teeth. Worth it? Welp, that was worth it for sure. Back at the station, they processed me again. Same smell, same metal bench, different satisfaction. They told me I would be detained again while things got sorted. 6 days, probably. I sat in the holding cell, resting in peace like a man on vacation, replaying how wonderful it felt to slap the crap out of Dylan and Vanessa. Mature? Barely even a concept. Satisfying? So satisfying. I almost worried about my character development. At that time, Rocco Dane's people were already moving outside my view. Somewhere outside the station, a black SUV slowed near the front entrance. A man in the passenger seat held a phone with my photo on the screen. Another man said Rocco had been right. The hidden jackpot winner had become a walking prize. I sat behind the bars thinking the worst part of the day was over. That was my mistake. The Step family had finally been served. The people who wanted my $3.4 billion were just starting to come for my head.